Hi, and welcome to Channel Maven, a part of 360 Insights podcast. I'm Akilah Murrell. I'm the Senior Manager of Channel Marketing. And today I had a great discussion with Christina Nairn, who serves as the Director of America's Regional Marketing at Sophos. Now, when it comes to building successful business relationships, demand generation and partner recruitment actually go hand in hand. And so it's important that we understand how those strategies work together. So Christina shared her wealth of knowledge, her experience, her lessons learned with us. And I know for sure that you will definitely get something out of this conversation and really how to drive sustainable business forward and to grow together over long term by building those strong relationships. Christina, I'm so glad that you accepted the invitation to come and join us today. Before we dive into our topic, can you just introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. I am Christina Nairn. I work with Sophos. I'm based out of Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. I've been with the company for quite some time, and my current area of responsibility is all of our marketing for North America. That's our direct marketing to customers and prospects, as well as all of our MSP and partner recruitment.
Okay. Wow. So real busy, very busy.
Yes.
And how's the weather there right now? Is it getting a little chilly? Winter?
It is, it's beautiful right now. It is sunny and crisp. We are, for those of you not familiar with Vancouver, it's similar to Seattle. It's wet, but it doesn't get too cold and it doesn't get too hot. So it's great for people who like green grass all year round and kind of the mild temperatures.
Yeah, definitely. I was born in Toronto. I get we didn't get it wasn't like that there at all. Lake effect snow.
Got the cold and the snow.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to kick things off here real quick with just a fun question that I like to ask all of my guests. And that question is, what was your first job and how has it impacted you today, like in your current role? Is there something that you may have learned from your very first job that you now are implementing in your current role?
Yes. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. This was my first volunteer job, so I didn't get paid for it. But I had the opportunity to volunteer at a camp when I was in junior high. I did this for several years in a row on kind of a week in the summer or different long weekends over the course of the year. And through that had a number of different volunteer roles between working in the ice cream shop, like scooping ice cream and making milkshakes, serving meals to the campers in the dining room, and also working in the linen nook. This was a place where campers would come and get bedding and towels and cleaning supplies and things that they need. Mm-hmm. But it was, I learned from an early age the importance of putting others first. I had the opportunity to give these campers the week or weekend of their life, and they were just able to be there and enjoying themselves and not having to do any work. Mm-hmm. And I think how that translates to today is I had those opportunities at a young age for leadership, for customer service, and for teamwork. And it taught me that working hard, collaborating with like-minded people on a shared purpose or goal is incredibly fun and rewarding. And those are all things that I do in my day job today. And having that collaboration is really key.
Wow, that fits perfectly with what you're doing and just who you are. And I know we obviously recently met, but I can see the others first, and customer service, customer experience is really near and dear to you. So I can only imagine with your partners, I'm sure you're all about building relationships with the partners. And speaking of, today we're actually going to talk about a unique little point of view, a unique twist to demand generation, if you will. And it's really how demand generation and partner recruitment strategies actually go hand in hand. So I'm super excited for this conversation. Let me go ahead and dive into the first question here. It's how can companies leverage their demand generation strategies to then attract potential partners?
Yeah, and I love this topic because it's something that in the past I found that often direct or field marketing is managed quite differently than channel marketing. The strategies and tactics used for each of these are unrelated, and we often use different sets of measurement for them too. But several years ago, I thought, what if we take the best of our demand gen efforts and implement them into our partner recruitment efforts? So let's meet our partners where they're at in what we would call the buying cycle for our demand gen efforts, offer up content that's based on whether they're currently content with another vendor, or if they're on the hunt for something new, or if they're currently working with your company already. And the ideal is to have that visibility and a consistent message everywhere your prospective partners are, whether that's paid digital, social media, third-party publications, webinars, live events. Take what works in your direct marketing campaigns and apply it to your partner acquisition with the channel lens.
I love that. So you're really and truly meeting them where they're at. I think that sounds like that's the secret sauce, right? And understanding their strengths, like what are they doing well?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. That's great. So would you say are some of the key similarities then between demand generation and partner recruitment strategies? Because I'd imagine that there are some similarities and maybe some overlap. And then in that secret place of overlap, how can companies then really leverage those or capitalize on those similarities?
Yeah, so for me, it comes down to audience acquisition. So the principles are the same, but the execution will shift depending upon the audience. For customer audience, you'll likely focus on how you meet the needs of the customer and make their lives better or easier. With partner acquisition, you focus on how you meet the needs of the partner by making them profitable, and then also giving them the tools and products and services that meet the needs of their customer. So you can utilize similar tactics for each of these audiences as long as your messaging is tailored properly. And I think how we use those insights to kind of guide things is you'll look at the metrics that you're using for customer acquisition and tailor them to that partner acquisition. So it will be different across marketing tactics that you use. For instance, if you're doing awareness activities, you won't necessarily have specific leads that you're generating through that, but you'll have impressions, clicks, and page views. And some of these will be on publications that reach both your customer and your partner, but other will be partner-specific publications. If we take live events, for example, it may be contacts that you're adding to your your prospective partner database, the number of post-event meetings that you schedule, that your channel team schedules with prospective partners, or the number of partner applications that you receive after that event. The measurements are different than those standard demand gen programs. However, there are ways to manage the effectiveness of these programs that will help you in guiding your strategy and which programs and campaigns to double down on and which that you're not seeing the success with and you can move away from.
That's great. And I love the data angle that you're coming at here, because I'm all about data. Like the data don't lie is what I say all the time, right? So stay close to those metrics, right? Because then you really need to know what's working well, what's not, where do we need to shift? So what I hear you saying is literally data-driven insights is going to guide your demand gen and partner recruitment activities, right?
Yeah, but don't try to apply the same metrics that you do on the direct side to the channel side, because it's a different beast. So while there are similarities, you need to look at it through a different lens in terms of evaluating the programs that you're working on.
That's good. So recognize those differences. Don't just try and put everybody in one little mold, if you will.
Yeah, it won't work.
Right. That's great. This is just good advice, though. I know we're talking about partners, but I'm thinking in life, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I'm getting some more out of this conversation than I thought. So talk to me about AI. I mean, who isn't talking about AI, right? That's like leading the pack right now. I know we have machine learning, we've got predictive analytics, but how does AI and those emerging technologies enable companies to really optimize their demand and partner generation efforts?
Yeah, this is a tricky one because there is incredible opportunity for innovation with generative AI, but it's not without risk. So we need to be sure that we're balancing the benefits of increasing efficiency and productivity with those risks of security vulnerabilities, PII breaches, and unreliable outputs. I was actually speaking with one of our managed detection and response engineers recently about he was telling me a story about a situation in which a salesperson, and to be very clear, it was not a Sophos salesperson, but they were playing around with generative AI, and they uploaded their customer list into a program that would then research those individuals and spit out these customized sales emails for the sales rep to use. Well, they thought this was a fantastic way to increase their efficiency and productivity, and just to get some of that key information that would be the hook that would really get that back to open the email. But what they totally missed was that they had shared their entire customer database on an insecure web page that was then available to index.
Oh my goodness.
So we need to be really careful about how we are using these tools, because there's no doubt that these tools provide us with so many opportunities, but we just need to be cautious of how we use them. Sophos has taken a really thoughtful approach to this, and we actually have a use policy for generative AI for all employees in terms of how we can and should be using these tools, how not to upload your customer database to it. But it's to make sure that we're taking advantage without putting ourselves or the company at risk. And we actually had so many requests from partners and from customers for advice on how to use these types of tools and have a policy in place, that we've actually made this policy and guidelines available to others, to basically give them an idea of how they can create their own internal policy to make sure that they're capitalizing on AI without putting themselves at risk.
Right. What a great value add. So did you make this available to your partners? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So it's actually available on our website. I can send you the link if you want to include it with the recording. But it's available. It's really just our way of helping to make sure that people are using these tools in a really safe and secure way.
Right. But it's also twofold, right? Because you're also filling a knowledge gap and positioning yourself as just being valuable, right? Sometimes it's just about helping others. That's all part of building the relationship. And I know that wasn't your motivation to then, okay, let's drum up some more business, but you wanted to help. And I think that's going back to who you are from the very beginning. But by offering things like that to your partners can go a long way as it relates to the relationship that you have with them. So kudos to you all. I have a quick question. I want to pause because we talked about this a little bit last week with your team. The pronunciation of your company. Sophos? Or is it Sophos? Which one is it, Christina? What's the one?
So you will get a different answer depending upon who you talk to. Technically, it is Sophos. We are a UK-based company, and that is how our founders, Jan and Peter, pronounced the name. Across the US, it's typically pronounced Sophos. That's how most people know us. I am a bit of a hybrid, and I combine the two, and I say Sophos.
I love it. Oh my goodness, you take a hybrid approach. Thanks for that history, because it comes up quite often. I'm sure you've had to have this conversation, this discussion.
Yes.
But it's quite interesting. Love it, love it.
Yeah.
So, as we talk about being responsible, like for example, with generative AI, and we do have to be responsible, because then it goes into how companies do build that trust and credibility with potential partners. That is actually at the forefront of any relationship, management amongst the partners and the vendors, the suppliers. But how do companies maintain that trust and credibility through their demand efforts, their demand generation efforts and strategies? And I know you touched a little bit on it from the perspective of generative AI, but just in general, how do you maintain that?
Yeah, it's hard to build, but it's easy to lose, right? So we at Sophos, we actually have a code of conduct that applies to everything we do, from employee engagement to how we create our products and services, how we engage with each other and with the channel. There's 5 key values that spells SEPIA. It's simplicity, empowerment, passion, innovation, and authenticity. And I think those last 2 are really key in building that trust and credibility with our partners in particular. In terms of innovation, we stay at the forefront and advance the boundaries of what's possible. If we're going to fail, we do it quickly. We learn from it and we move forward from there. And we're always seeking better approaches to what we do and seeking input and feedback from the channel, and not just asking for it for the sake of asking for it, but asking for it and then implementing it and changing the way that we're doing business with the channel. And the last one is authenticity. And this is striving to be genuine and transparent and honest with our partners and ourselves as well.
Mhm.
So these are values that are evident through the company, in our partnerships, and a major contributing factor to how committed and dedicated our partners are.
Right.
It's the do what you say you're going to do, follow through with it, communicate clearly and effectively, and make sure that that communication is a two-way street. It's not just us communicating to our partners, it's seeking that feedback, engaging, bringing them into that conversation.
Oh, that's so powerful. And it's simple, isn't it? Because you think of a partnership, you have to have at least two to make it to have some sort of relationship. And so you're right, that two-way communication is going to be extremely important. And I believe that a lot of vendors forget that. They're all about it's their agenda and it's their way or the highway. And just a simple fix of just really listening to the partners and fostering that environment of trust and a safe space for partners to come to you with anything can really go a long way. And I really appreciate your comment about authenticity. I think failing forward and authenticity go hand in hand and transparency. All the values that you mentioned actually fit nicely together, and as a result should build that credibility and trust with partners. Awesome. I love this conversation. This is great. What are some of the biggest challenges that companies face when it does come to demand gen and partner recruitment? How and do you believe that some of these challenges can be overcome? Or is it just some of these just too big to even tackle? Like, how do you approach that?
I'm a glass half full person, so I believe any challenge can be overcome. Whether or not that's true, time will tell. But I think in terms of the biggest challenges that companies face in this area, the first is messaging. So your customer needs and your partner needs are different. And we need to make sure that we understand what drives each of these groups and tailor our content and message differently. It's not a one size fits all, as I mentioned earlier. And oftentimes we see that the channel message is an afterthought. So companies are thinking about, what do our end users need? What do my customers need? And not thinking about the important role that the channel plays in all of that. So it's getting to know our customers and our partners, find out what they need, what challenges they face on a daily basis. And that's the starting point in your messaging. The more they feel heard and understood, the higher likelihood that they'll want to engage in a partnership with you. And the second is reporting. As I mentioned earlier, traditional ROI tracking is something that we use in terms of our field marketing programs or end user marketing programs, but things get a little bit more complicated when we're looking at partner acquisitions. So looking at whether or not your internal tracking tools can take you from, let's say I go to a trade show and I meet a bunch of prospective partners and we have great conversations. I've got their names and I know that I've got meetings scheduled with them, and I can kind of take them through how many of them actually became a partner, but do you have the tools and software required to follow that all the way through to, okay, now they're a partner, how productive are they? How much are they selling? What's the area of opportunity for them? And making sure that that's all aligned. So sometimes this requires a little bit of developing of custom reports or getting creative in terms of how you're tracking that, because it's not those traditional models of ROI tracking, but it is really important to take a look at what are the programs I'm running and what's the long-term effect of those.
Right. That's powerful. I remember back in my day I don't want to say how many years ago, but honestly, as a marketer, that was always a challenge for our department was, meeting folks at events and then being able to identify who they are in the CRM system and tracking them through the entire life cycle and being able to offer up valuable information to like sales and our executives. But we struggled with making that connection. I think nowadays it should be easier though now than ever. Don't you agree with the tools that are out there? And
we've definitely made progress in terms of tools that are available, but it's not necessarily going to be a plug and play. There may be some kind of custom work that needs to be done to make sure that you really have that visibility of where they're at in the cycle.
Right. Yeah. It's never a plug and play. It's never out of the box, just ready to go. I've never seen anything like it. So many companies would come and pitch to us like, hey, this is ready, plug and play. And no, there's a lot of
Nope.
quite a bit of work that goes into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, good point. So how can companies then align their demand generation strategies and partner recruitment with the broader business goals and objectives? Because oftentimes, when you think of the partner strategy, it's just part of the overall company strategy. And sometimes companies actually struggle to see the value in the partner demand generation. Like how does that work for you?
We're in a unique situation in that we are a channel first company. So Sophos conducts all of our business through the channel. And this means that our partner demand and recruitment strategies are completely aligned with the business goals. But for companies that aren't 100% channel, I encourage them to consider the amplification and scale that the channel gives you.
Mhm.
It shouldn't be an afterthought, as I talked about earlier. It should be something that you're thinking about as you develop your content and demand strategies and your products and services as well. But we're just talking about marketing today. But consider them in everything that you're doing, and consider the message that you're sharing to the channel and through the channel for those products and services.
Mhm.
It is we bleed channel at
Right.
Sophos, but we really feel like it is a really amazing way to amplify your message
Mhm.
and sell more. Your
Mhm.
internal sales team only has so much capacity and so many cycles, even if you have a really large team. But when you add the power of the channel, you're far more likely to accomplish those goals and objectives because you've just magnified the number of people that you have sharing the message, selling your products and services, having conversations with people within their networks about why your company is the right company for that customer's needs.
Mhm. Right, which makes having a really good, strong relationship with your partners even that much more important because you're correct. It's such a broader reach. Um, it's interesting. Not all companies really recognize the value of true partnerships, and really helping contribute to the bottom line. So it sounds like Sophos is very good at recognizing that in their partners. Now you have
Yeah,
me pronouncing the company like you, so I but it's okay. It's all right. It's all good.
you've been converted.
I've been converted. My Canadian is coming out again. So here we go. So then the overall question that I'm sure our audience has for you and is interested in this response is how do you then measure success of your demand gen and partner recruitment efforts? How do you define that?
That's there's a few different ways that we look at it. The first one is from a partner recruitment standpoint. I have two main goals. One of those is to recruit new partners and get them signed up, onboarded, trained, and profitable as fast as we can for the benefit of the partner and the benefit of the company. And the second is to ensure that our existing partners have all of the resources and tools that they need to continue to sell into their existing customer base. So whether it's providing new and better protection from a security standpoint to those customers, adding new tools, new resources, but also adding new customers to their own environment so that they are profitable and continuing to share that protection. In terms of the metrics and how we measure those things, we look at the number of new partners that we add on a kind of monthly or quarterly basis. We look at the time it takes to get them to profitability, so that onboarding process and when they actually start to sell the products. How many partners are growing? Do we have partners that are just stagnant, or do we have partners that are increasing the number of products that they sell? Sophos is unique in that we have a lot of different products and services all within the security space that we offer. So are our partners selling one, or are they selling multiple products? And then also, what is the contribution of these partners to the bottom line and our revenue goals? So
Mhm.
looking at the different partner levels or the different sub groups of partners and making sure that we're seeing that growth in each of those areas.
Mhm. Interesting. So there has to be some sort of growth in order for you to define whether the partner is being successful or not. what if then you uncover, in your reviews, if you will. So what if you uncover a partner who isn't, they're not growing? Do you take a look at the whole picture? Like, are they utilizing tools? Are they leveraging campaign assets? Are you looking at everything out, not just deal registration, to then determine whether it's a healthy relationship or not?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have really strong channel marketing teams, channel sales teams, and all sorts of other teams that support our channel partners. And so making sure that they're engaged with these teams, that they know what tools and resources are available to them from a marketing standpoint, from a sales standpoint, even from technical support. Are they utilizing everything that is available to them? Are they logging into the partner portal? Do they know what's new and what's up and coming and what they should be excited about? So evaluating whether or not these partners are truly engaged, and the partners that are truly engaged, we want to do everything we can to make sure that they're successful.
Right, right. Absolutely, absolutely. So question then for you too around learning from companies that have successfully integrated their demand gen and partner recruitment efforts, like your company. What do you feel like maybe just, I don't know, top three, maybe top one, whatever best practice you think that you just would say, you absolutely need to do this. This has been successful for us. What would that be?
Well, one thing that's been really interesting for me to engage with and observe is that um, typically we're siloed in our direct marketing and our channel marketing.
Mhm.
And that can provide individual team members with clarity on what their job is, kind of structure, sense of ownership. And that feels really good to those individuals in the short term because they know what their box is, they know what they need to do. But ultimately, it's not in the best interest of the company or the individual.
Mhm.
There are so many parallels that we've been talking about between the two segments of marketing. So let's use our expertise on both sides to influence the other area.
Mhm.
Um, for instance, do you have a really high performing end user webinar strategy that you could take some of the best bits from and apply it to the channel with that kind of channel message, channel content, and that lens to look through, but still using the basics of that webcast strategy? Or
Right.
do you have a channel roadshow series that your partners love and they come to when they're engaged? Like, what can you learn from that channel marketing side of the business that you could apply to an end user specific roadshow, for instance?
Mhm.
So I've just found that integrating those two areas not only provides the best of both worlds, that collaboration rather than working in those siloed environments, but you're putting your best foot forward in all aspects. And it also gives the team members more visibility into how what they're doing is part of the bigger picture. So
Right.
why does it matter what they're working on? How does that engage with the company goals and objectives? How are they making a difference? But it also gives them more skills and
Right.
more visibility into different sides of the business rather than just saying, well, I'm a channel marketing professional and that's what I'll always be. There are things for all of us to learn at any stage in our career. And what I love to be able to do is to provide my team members with new areas of expertise, new skill sets, and things that they'll use here, but they'll use for the rest of their career wherever that takes them.
Right. Oh, it's such a winning, that's a winning strategy right there. Honestly, it is.
Everyone.
Sounds cheesy, but it really is because everyone benefits from the collaboration as opposed to just working in a silo,
Yeah.
and it's easy. That silo impact, that silo effect is so easy to just slip into. But honestly, it's not doing anyone good, right? If you're not collaborating with others.
And it can be an uncomfortable segue from being in your this is my job and I, I know what
And
I'm
it
doing,
is. It is
moving
uncomfortable.
into more of a collaborative
Yep.
team approach. But I guarantee that if you get past that awkward stage, that teenage stage,
Right.
it is so rewarding.
It is. It
Yeah.
really is. Yeah, definitely. Now, you mentioned road shows and events, and I know you all are like the master of events, right? How has events, and I know we're not talking, that's not the topic here, but I would love to get your opinion really on how that fits in. How does your event strategy fit into your demand generation and partner recruitment efforts?
Yeah, events are huge, and I would say particularly in the MSP community. So we love getting face to face with partners and customers, and events is the primary way that we do this. The MSP community, partner community, but MSP community in particular is relationship based. It is collaborative. It is beautifully unique. It's something that's unlike most other things.
Right.
And it is so much easier and more fun to provide updates to partners and collaborate and conduct business planning with our partners when we're in person. The remote working has given companies so many advancements and opportunities, but there just isn't really a substitute for sharing a meal, having a laugh, looking someone in the eye while you're working towards a shared goal. We saw a slow return to events post COVID, but this year it really feels like people are back in style with hugely successful in-person events. They are happy to be there. They are able to conduct business far more quickly than you would be able to via Zoom or via phone call. I know you had a chance to meet with some of the team last week in person, and it is so much more fun to work with people when you've had a chance to see them in person, get to know them outside of work a little bit. And it's in all of our best interest to have that face time to really speed up the relationship building, but also the sales cycle.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I feel like even coming back from COVID, from the pandemic, sorry, it seems like people are more appreciative and grateful to be at an event. And I also feel like from the vendors and the suppliers, they're more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just they're more authentic in their approach. Like it's very pure. They want to fill a knowledge gap. They want to make sure that they're offering some sort of value where, prior to engaging with them or like attending a session, for example, they didn't know any, like you filled some kind of knowledge gap and you were very valuable. So I feel like we're all focused now on how can we be more valuable to our attendees, our event attendees. I don't know, the pandemic really shifted our thinking on so many levels, obviously, but you're right. Face-to-face events, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Awesome. Anything else you want to share with our audience? This has been so enlightening. It's funny just listening to you, share your experiences, your expertise. I'm also just taking it personally. I feel like everything that you shared today is also like some really good personal advice. And I love that because it all ties back into relationship. It's all about relationships.
It is. And it's funny you say that. When I'm hiring, pardon me, when I'm hiring for my team, that's one of the things that I tell them is this is relationship based.
Yeah.
I can teach skills, I can teach product, I can teach channel to almost anyone. What I can't teach is the ability to build a relationship. I can't teach drive. I can't teach that kind of just inner fire to engage and to do good work and to work hard. But it all comes down to relationships. And that's, I think, some of the most successful people that you'll see, the lines are kind of blurred between work and their outside of work life because there is that authenticity and you're bringing those qualities that you bring to your personal life into your work life, and you see the success in both of those areas. And it's also a lot less exhausting if you are just the same person regardless of where you show up, rather than trying to have this work persona and a family persona and a friend persona. It is just so much easier to be yourself and have those guiding principles. And it might not be sepia, but whatever those guiding principles that you as an individual have, make sure that you're exhibiting those in your daily life, whether that's in the office, on a Zoom call, at an event, or hanging out with your family and friends.
So good. Oh my goodness. What a way to end this conversation, this discussion. I couldn't end it any better. I want to thank you for your time. Please stop by anytime. I know you and I have had some other discussions, and I would love to pick up on mentorship and women in tech. I want to have all these discussions with you because I really appreciate your insight. I know you have a lot of valuable information that you can share with our audience. So thank you so much for stopping by, Christina.
Thank you for having me, and I would love to come back. You know where to find me.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.